This is Texas Hill Country. Because of its elevation, soil, and climate, the grapes grown here help produce distinctive wines reflecting local region. Often in the wine industry, the story of grape to glass is critical to consumers. They want to ensure the greatest care has been taken to craft these wines responsibly and sustainably.
The Hill Country really is the hub of where Texas wine can be experienced. A lot of that is because it's where the tourism is. It's where people love to come. There are beautiful vineyards. There are wonderful tasting rooms where people can come and experience the wines in a beautiful place. But it's also where a lot of grapes are grown. The Texas Hill Country has become a really important part for the diversity of grapes that can be grown within the state of Texas.
Despite the many challenges of building a winemaking tradition in a new region, the passionate group of farmers, entrepreneurs, and winemakers are working to turn Texas into a home for high-quality wine growing and sustainable production. Family-owned and operated, Pedernales Cellars is dedicated to the creation of world-class wines, using ecologically sound practices, with a focus on grape varieties that can be grown with exceptional quality in the Texas Hill Country.
The mission of Pedernales Cellars is to make fine wine using 100% Texas grapes in the most sustainable way possible. It is also to educate wine consumers about how we make wine in Texas, because we are a new wine region. As a new wine region, the reality is we had to learn basically from the land what we should be growing and how we should be growing it, but then we also share that knowledge with other people so that the industry can continue to grow. So we have a new generation of viticulturalists and winemakers. People who come to a Texas winery, they probably started drinking Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, and those you can make them in Texas, but there's no reason to compete with California on them. It's much better for us to be making Tempranillo or Viognier, and those are both grapes that no one can pronounce. So you have to start from scratch to say, hey, this is why we make this here, and you should enjoy it.
I think one of the beautiful things about being part of pioneering in a region like this is that there's hundreds of years of history of making wines in other places, and yet to do this in Texas, where there's a much more limited experience, you are having to learn how to adapt, take traditional practices that have known to work in other regions, and find a sort of a derivative of that works in Texas. And there's some trial and error to it, and I think we've been part of that. But as you learn, you can develop whole new ideas of how you incorporate everything from concepts of sort of limited sustainable agriculture, traditional agriculture in regions, say in Europe and Spain and such, and then find that balance, knowing the goal here is that we're going to produce a beautiful wine that really characterizes what Texas is. And yet it's modeled on traditional wines from other regions. We know that that's often our goal, is to meet that level of standard or exceed it. But again, in a uniquely Texas way, with the terroir really sort of presented. Since every place a wine is made, you are going to get unique characteristics of that place, and that's certainly our goal.
Nestled in the heart of Texas Hill Country and the epicenter of the Texas wine industry, Pedernales Cellars is building an identity for premium quality, sustainable Texas wines that reflect the unique character of the state's soils. With nearly 3 decades experience of farming and making wine in Texas, the Pedernales Cellars team exemplifies a sustainable approach to growth in the vineyard, cellar, and community.
We're looking to find a balance in our practice and a sustainable one, and that means environmentally friendly spray programs. As an example, that is using products that are alternatives to any of the synthetic sprays you would use, particularly for things like fungicide. It also means regenerative soil practice, and so that is finding that balance between what your soil needs and what you take out and you put back in. And in our case, that means organic compost, some of which we may be produced here, but others that will actually source organic compost from producers here in the state. And so sustainability then means taking this from the grapes, from the vineyard, to how we operate here from a production point of view. And some of those have just been large investments in geothermal, for example. Most of the cooling in the building is done either with a geothermal system or by virtue of construction underground in order to take advantage of natural cooling. Additionally, within this, our operation, you'll see things like steam cleaning and others meant to minimize water. And of course, part of that is rainwater collection. A lot of the water that we actually use on site is from the rainwater collection system, because we're always trying to sort of minimize our impact on the scarce resource that is hill country water.
You know, what I'm really trying to achieve is creating the best wines we possibly can out of what we have been given from the vintage. So, you know, I'm not trying to make a wine that mimics the vintage prior or that is going to be something that it's not. I'm trying to work with the fruit that we have and to get the wines to be the best expression of themselves as possible. So I'm trying to work with the grapes that we've been given for that vintage and really try to coax out of them all the different flavors and aromatics that I think that are hiding in there that I can work with to make be something really special.
David and I have taken a lot of leadership positions in the industry because we think it's very important that the whole industry, grows together. And when we got started, we basically had to train everyone we hired from the ground up. They knew nothing about the wine industry. We're able to now offer health benefits and maternity leave and all kinds of things that help the whole infrastructure work. And we now have managers that are highly skilled at what they do. And so all of that allows us to have a better future. In terms of viticulture, we planted back in 1995, and we have been learning for all of that more than a quarter century of what works well in Texas. We are helping 2 vineyards transition to organic. So in the future, we will have an organic wine to offer our consumers. There's particular interest from some retailers. And in terms of sustainability in the Hill Country, there's an effort to put together a certification program so that we can have a set of criteria, fixed criteria, for saying that we're sustainable, and we're working on that. The beauty of sustainability is that usually what is good for staff and for the environment is also good for your business. It's like a healthy set of habits, and everything grows better when you're doing things sustainably.
In an age of climatic and economic change, we're committed to helping build Texas into a premium quality wine region in a sustainable way, so it can be a lasting part of the state's future agricultural economy. Learn more today about Pedernales Cellars. Seriously Texas wine.